Satnam, I'm Devi here offering a general reading. As always, take what resonates and disregard the rest. And got some song lyrics coming in the wee hours, and it feels like belief in the self, following which, what will you allow? Like, what are you going to allow in your energetic sphere? What are you going to allow between your ears? What are you going to allow to continue? If we dial back some of the patterns or where you're at in this timeline with the projected timelines at your access, it requires you to examine what program you're running and what program you will continue to allow. And when we think about the mental body, it's a challenge because the brain works in one wiring and it requires you to see it, stop it, and redirect, right? And ideally redirect with positive reinforcement rather than in self-punishment or even like this preservation or survival mode. Like, will you allow the timelines to open up? Will you allow the growth mindset to open up and access new channels? When you are working with a computer and it's just not working efficiently, right? And if you're a computer savvy, like, forgive me that there could be more here, but we do Control Alt Delete, right? And then from there, there's a list of the programs. What will you keep looking at? And so can you check in with yourself? What programs are you running? What is the mindset that is filtering your current experience, which is then dictating the trajectory in which you are stepping forward in? And regardless of what you're running now, there's always that opportunity to pause, redirect, and grow forward in a new timeline, write a new chapter, close a chapter. Like, where are you at and where do you want to grow? And it feels like it's this continuation, but I mean, you're always going to do your laundry, you're always going to do your dishes, you're always going to re-examine and have the opportunity to grow. I have a couple decks out, so we'll see what they have to say. In shock of this little four-legged friend of mine. And it gives you lots of insights, whether you're working with a toddler, you're working with yourself, whether you're reading a novel, watching a movie, there's an opportunity to see a new perspective. And a new chapter, a new way of being wants to be reborn. Celebrating, or what's in the way of celebration? Where will you find the courage to level up? And there's a new way of seeing this. You're at a fork in the road. The hanged person card to me is like fork in the road. And I do have a short video on what the hanged person means. And to me, how I'm seeing this card these days is that the head is on the planet Earth, like in the material and the pinnacles, but the feet, the steps you take, are guided from the stars above. Like, twinkle twinkle little star, like you're stepping forward from above, from the cosmos. Bottom deck, Judgment. The divine is here to help you, and it does feel like, and I just spoke to this, it feels like things are being unearthed that are uncomfortable to see and feel through, but they're necessary to look at so that you don't continue, or so that you can lighten your load. And before I push record, there's so much happening right now. Back it up. But never again. What are your, like, we don't know until we step foot, right? And the idea of quicksand is coming to mind. It's like, you don't know until you take those steps, what steps you're no longer going to allow. And until you start to practice with the energies, the frequencies of the divine, you don't know how to flow with it and not step on toes. You're going to step on toes before you learn to dance on this journey, before you Learn to feel out the beat that's best for you. It's confusing sometimes. And so not to overload yourself. I keep coming back to Control Alt Delete and that list, the list of programs running. And so the Seven of Hearts is like the clutter of the mind, the clutter in the energy body. And when we work with the mind, we also have to work with the body. And so some of that is some somatic release. You know, it might be crying on your yoga mat. It might be going for a run. It might be a hike, whatever it is that's best for you. And I find for me personally, like shaking, dancing, some sort of like rocking works best for me to process it out, to then manage the energy currents, to manage what energies are allowed. And as telepathic communication opens more widely, as the dream world gets more intense and you're doing more of that astral travel, it requires you to learn what you're going to give attention to and what you're going to say no to. It's just like you don't, sometimes we take a minute to answer an email, we take a second to answer a text message, or sometimes we don't pick up every call. So the same thing's going to happen in the energy field to allow you to not feel quite as confused, because not all that come into your energy field, not all that energetically knock at your door requires your wholehearted attention. And so some of it requires is the divine saying, do you really want that anymore? Right? Do you really want to keep coping and surviving, or do you want to dance with the divine and celebrate the divinity within you, the blessings that are here on this planet? Judgment, judgment, judgment. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about this judgment card. Under that is the Two of Swords, and under that is the Ten of Pentacles. You have to decide what you want. You really do have to decide what you want and put it out there. And sometimes if you're running programs that are kind of cluttering your frequency, or if you're allowing too many in your, giving too many people access to you, so too much of other people's drama is in your field, it's going to clutter you. So sometimes I talk about like your mindset and letting go of the past, but it's like when you're connecting with other human beings and you're so divinely open, or you are so channeled in, or you're such a sponge, some of their past is going to clutter you, some of their drama is going to clutter you, and you don't need to take that on either. So shake that off. Some showers aren't really about like physically cleaning, it's an emotional. And I feel the same way about like sweeping the floor. Sometimes it's not about the dust and dirt on the floor. I've heard my daughter like, Mom, you're sweeping again. And it sometimes feels more energetic, because you step through the store, you step through this path and this and that house, and now you're in your house. Do you want to take that in? You know, I feel like I should talk to house slippers. Like, like you leave your shoes at the door and you walk your house slippers around. You know, I don't know. So some of the malalignment or the misalignment is what you've taken on, and less so about you. And especially if you're here to help move some of the collective energies and uplift the planet, some of what you're feeling is heavy, and what some of the confusion is and disillusionment is what you've taken on from the external. And your soul may have signed up to be a filter to clear that out as well. So just kind of be aware of what's happening in the energetic, emotional bodies. And not to allow that to clutter the mindset of where you want to go, because really she can cross her heart, close herself off, and not see. She can feel it out and open, because what the sword, you could use both hands. You don't have to cross it over and hide yourself from yourself. Now, judgment. When we think about the traditional Rider-Waite version of it's kind of like these, it's like this opening up. It's almost like the closet opening up. this is the unearthing of the ground. So what has Mother Gaia taken on in human history, right? It's now being asked to say, we're unraveling that and saying we're not, as a collective, running that program. That is no longer acceptable, right? I'm kind of seeing two hands because I know this card has a hand. It's like kind of pulling that out, helping to pull that out. And not to be afraid. And I did speak to one of Ken Wilber's talks, and he does talk about loving all things, no matter the process. You know, like whether you're a birth doula or a crossing doula or someone who helps in that transition, there's still beauty in all aspects of life, from the beginning to the decaying end, and allowing that to still be beautiful for you. We're so fixated on the result and being right that we trip ourselves up. The Six of Swords is the next bottom deck in the playing card. So the movement. What needs to shift? Like, what gear do you need to be in? And how is there both give and take, in as far as you releasing to allow something in, or not taking on burdens but delegating, working together in partnership and harmony. Reflect on what's best for you and take what you learn and apply it. It's not only taking it into the mental body, releasing through the emotional, but putting it into action, what you've learned. You know, like something about good deeds. No good deed goes unnoticed. Unwavering. I don't know how to complete that sentence. I'm just getting the word unwavering. Having that full, wholehearted belief in what you learned, new perspective, is part of your soul path. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there. I do hope this served well. As always, take what resonates. Sending lots of light and love your way. Sit down. Oh, gosh.